here I have, you can see, measuring rod. Okay, these we purchased online, and these are basically screw together sections of metal rod in brass and silver 1-inch lengths, and they're great to see the distance your troops measure, because you can lay it flat on the table, measure your troops to distance, move them accurately. You can just, these guys, like troops, move 5 in the open, so that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you line up the rest of the boys with them, and you're done. So we've just finished turn 2, and you can see now the Romans, the cavalry has leapt forward. The commanders that are attached to them over there in Field of Glory rules, they allow units to make a double move. Essentially, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but if you're more than 6 inches away from the enemy, you can make a double move. And that's what I've done, and just leapt them across the field up there. And if I zoom out, you can see now the Numidians are rounding on them, but those are light cavalry. They're not going to attack my heavy cavalry. I'll turn them into Swiss cheese. The spearmen, though, are now in a bit of a quandary. If they stay where they are, I can use that field to get around the side of them. If they move forwards, I can retreat backwards and lure them into the open terrain and then flank them around there. So they've got a bit of a headache now, and I've got Roman units which are going to start moving towards them to engage them as well. On the other side, zoom out, my medium foot have now moved. They've left themselves a nice little border, a field in front. That means any attacker's got to come in there and suffer the penalties of disruption. And the Roman legion has moved up, and now I can split up those 3 units there, the infantry, the elite triarii, and the other infantry unit. I can send 1 infantry unit off against those spearmen on the main battle line. The triarii and the other unit can now start manoeuvring around the side of his cavalry, and we start creating a nice little box for them. The light troops are moving forward to stop the double moves, to prevent those six units. And the cavalry reserve has moved a little bit slower this turn, because it doesn't know yet where the action is going to take place, so it's just waiting to see what's going to develop. Stephan's units here, the Numidians have moved forward again. Although they're coming around the side of my unit, I'm really not that worried. The only time I would be worried is if he has another unit that he can use to engage me, and then he hits me in the side or the rear with those Numidians. Normally they still fall to pieces. Light cavalry and light infantry in this game really are not melee combat ready. They're there to shoot and disrupt enemy units from a distance, not to get in close and personal. But in an emergency, they can do it. If you're lucky on the dice, they do well, and if you're just average on the dice, they turn into Numidian burger. His main line is advanced here. I'm not sure what he's going to do with that line. We'll ask him in a minute. And he's keeping his Spanish infantry there.
So far it's still going according to the pre-battle thoughts. I've got the spearman who should serve as a block to Justin's cavalry, and the Numidians can help them out in the flank if needs be. Our light troops over here will probably soon engage each other, if not this turn then certainly the next. I'm expecting Justin to shift some Roman legionnaires to help out his Italian allies. His Italian allies are the only medium foot in the Roman army, and they do suffer a negative penalty when facing cavalry, so even if my cavalry get disordered by entering the field, I should still have a slight upper edge, and the Italian allies look as if they need some help there if they are going to stop that cavalry. He's held them a bit back, obviously to try to gain some time for his legions to swing around and help them out. That's why there's the Scutari behind, so if the fight becomes a protracted melee, I can still feed in fresh troops into the combat. Over here the main line is still facing his main line, still a bit of a standoff. As Justin pointed out earlier, the Carthaginian troops are undrilled, so as long as they're just going straight forward, they're okay. Once you start turning around and doing some more complex moves, they get a bit iffy. Hopefully Hannibal should help them out with that.
Okay, just a couple of other quick things to point out. The mission in this specific scenario here, we're using 2 starter armies from the army book Rise of Rome, which is a supplement. Okay, and this contains all the information you need to fight battles in that era. There's a couple of starter armies in there. We've copied those here on tabletop and fighting those armies. There is no time limit to this scenario, so we have as much time as we need, which means you're not pressed to maneuver or do anything fancy. You can take your time and plan your moves accordingly. Each of us have 11 units on the table, and what Field of Glory does, you get an army breakpoint equal to the number of units you have in play, which is 11 in this case. Every time you rout an enemy unit, you gain 2 points. If it's fragmented, which represents a unit really having badly eroded combat ability, that's 1 point. And if it runs off the table, that's 1 point. Note, if it routes off the table, it stays at 2 points, but some units like light cavalry and light infantry can evade enemy troops by running away, and if they accidentally get too close to their own edge and get chased off, then you get a point for that because they're out of the battle. We don't have camps on table for this battle. Normally the Romans get a fortified camp and the Carthaginians get an unfortified camp, and if you attack that camp and destroy it, you get 2 points as well. But we're not playing with the camps at the minute. We're just showing you some straightforward tactics here. And generals, apart from being great for helping your guys move really quickly, also have the ability to rally your troops, because when you can lose bases of troops when you suffer bad losses in combat, and if you lose enough bases, your unit automatically runs off the field in sheer terror. But it also represents that Field of Glory has an excellent mechanism which represents troop tiredness and morale by having 4 different states of combat. At the minute, everybody's fresh and ready. There's no counters placed, which means everybody's in a good state of combat ability. So, back on with turn 3, and we'll update you with the highlights of turn 3 after, and you can see how our strategy and tactics continue to evolve as we play.